In 1998, during the 5th season of Thomas & Friends, the series was introduced to one of the most important background characters it ever saw, that being Cranky the Crane, someone who since his first appearance in Season 5 has appeared in every season since, which honestly makes him kinda special, as the 5th season was the first to not have any stories based on the Railway series, and Cranky was among the first characters to not originate from the book series, and out of basically all of the Season 5 characters, is one of the few characters to make frequent appearances after such. If you're anything like me, at some point you may have wondered how they built Cranky for the original TV show. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we'll get into today. Unfortunately, there's not as much history behind the character as I wish there was, but there is plenty to say about his model, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Cranky was designed by art director Robert Galliers and built by model maker Chris Lloyd. The entire model was built out of plastic moldings and styrene card, to standard 10mm to the foot. It had 2 motors and gearboxes. One was used to turn Cranky around, and the other was used to control his winch. Both of these features were controlled from the same remote. Cranky also had an eye mechanism, one that basically mirrored the ones used in the locomotives, being that it ran on 2 servos, one for up and down movement and one for left and right movement. The eyeballs were coupled to brackets and locked in place by the faceplate, so whenever the servos were powered, the eyeballs could move however the crew desired. In total, Cranky had 9 different facial expressions sculpted for him, and all of such were used on screen. Just like the eye mechanism, the faces were made the exact same way as the locomotives, being first sculpted in clay and from that resin casts are made using a silicone mold. Cranky's model used to be on display in Canada, at Nitrogen Studios. However, as of early 2020, his model is now on display at Drayton Manor theme park, and is still wearing his content face. His left eye was rolled back when Drayton Manor reopened, but has since been fixed as of 2021. Honestly, very minor damage compared to some of the other props who were there. And throughout the model era, Cranky would see some minor modifications, however, never really anything too serious. For example, in Season 5, chains held his crane arm to his body, which wrapped around a pipe between his nameplates. In Season 6, 2 metal strips were shown replacing the chains. He would also gain a sad face and an angry face. Then again in Season 8, his name boards were moved to be positioned in the center of his crane house roof. However, that unfortunately wraps up his Gauge 1 model. There is still a little bit more to talk about though, that being in his CGI model, as in 2009, the series introduced such as a replacement for the live-action models. Cranky would be recreated from scratch by Nitrogen Studios. His model was quote-unquote hand-sculpted in Maya, a 3D animation and modeling software, but photographs of his live-action model were used for referencing. According to Greg Tiernan, every detail of the original models for each character is carefully reproduced in the CGI model. The renders themselves are subjected to many rounds of review before they're submitted to Hit Entertainment for final input and approval. And I would say Cranky very much encapsulates this, being that he's basically the same, though he does have some minor modifications, and has went through a few as well. These include in Hero of the Rails, his name boards were positioned in the center of his crane house roof again, and then in Season 13, the design of his hook changed. But unfortunately, that wraps up Cranky as a whole. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I would consider Cranky a classic character. While I know he doesn't come from the Railway series, he was a character I grew up knowing, and honestly always appreciating. I loved having toys of Cranky, I loved incorporating him into my train playtimes, and even now I have to say he's a character I really enjoy, and hopefully you guys enjoyed learning more about him, as honestly this video was pretty fun to make. I always love learning more about my favorite characters, and honestly, I'd say Cranky is just that. Maybe not my favorite, but he's up there. And be sure to comment down below and let me know what you guys think of Cranky. Also be sure to let me know if there's any other characters you guys would like to see, and I'll do my best to either make the video or add them to a poll to figure out which video to make. If you guys enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing for even more train content. And as always guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.